Jamie, and I'm a doctor who volunteers with You Can Be a Doctor. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about study skills and preparing for your exams. Revision can be daunting, and sometimes the amount you need to learn can be overwhelming. So I'm going to go through different approaches to revision and techniques to manage the workload. There are a few stages to exam preparation: note-taking, summarising, planning work, staying focused, and on-the-day preparation. And I'm going to talk a bit about each of these. Firstly, note-taking. Whether it's in class or during personal study, the ability to take clear notes that are easy to review later is a very useful skill. Different people find different techniques for note-taking work best for them, so it can be useful to try different techniques and find the ones that work best for you. One of the simplest techniques is the outline method. This technique involves bullet points, detailing first the main topic, then your subtopic, and then supporting information or thoughts. The simplicity of this makes notes both easy to review at a later date and easier to write while still listening in class. Its main disadvantage is that it works less well if your class doesn't follow an easily broken down structure. Next you have the Cornell method. As you can see, this involves formatting your page so you have different sections for your title, keywords, questions, notes and summary. All your raw notes from class will go into the notes section, after which questions and keywords can be completed while reviewing your notes. The advantage of breaking the information into these sections is that it makes review much easier and the key points are more easily accessible. And while writing out the questions and summary can be time consuming, it will help you develop a deeper understanding of the topic. This is probably among the best note-taking techniques if you commit to it, though it does involve some preparation to format your page. The final note-taking method I will mention is arrow mapping. This is similar to mind mapping, which I'll cover later. By refocusing your notes into keywords and connecting them, you can end up with notes that are both concise and visually pleasing, and editing or adding points is easier than when dealing with a block of text. The main drawback is you may find that if your notes aren't concise enough or structured properly, arrow mapping can become a bit confusing. Finally, there are some general points for your note-taking regardless of which technique you use. It can be tempting to put too much focus into using different colours, which can end up distracting you from the topic. Generally 1 or 2 colours is better, and underlining can be an easier way to highlight important points. Try to write things in your own words when possible. It will be easier to remember and understand the information further down the line. Keep it brief. Use abbreviations and keywords rather than full sentences. You'll save time and be less likely to miss the next bit of information. Now we've talked about writing your notes. Let's talk a bit about summarising them. Reviewing your notes and summarising them allows you to better focus on the key points and retain the important information. Again, there are a number of useful techniques that you can use when summarising. One of the most popular techniques for summarising is mind mapping. Similarly to arrow mapping, this can provide an effective and visually appealing way to break down your study material into smaller parts, making it easier to learn. It can also help you connect different bits of information, but much like with arrow mapping, it does have the potential to get cluttered or confusing if not done properly. If you find mind maps helpful, try putting them around your house. Sometimes the mental image of a mind map on the fridge can be a very useful visual prompt in an exam. Another popular technique for summarising is Q&A. Writing out questions and answers on the various topics you have covered can help to memorise information and are a very easy resource to revise from. If you anticipate likely topics that will appear in the exam, this method of revision can be excellent preparation, whether done individually or in group study. If you want to go a step further with preparing your questions and answers, many people find flashcards helpful. This can be particularly useful for things like formulae, which can otherwise be tricky to remember, as you can take them out when you've nothing else to do, such as when you're travelling on the bus. These can also be made on your phone through Anki or Quizlet. When making flashcards, try to keep it brief, as shorter questions and answers will be easier to remember than paragraphs. Again, find the technique that works for you. Knowing revision techniques is all very well, but only useful if you actually use them in study. Setting aside the time to revise and avoiding procrastination can be tough, but again there's some different approaches you might find helpful. For planning work, some potential approaches are making yourself timetables, setting deadlines, and writing to-do lists. Of these, timetables are generally the most detailed and best if you're able to stick to them. However, have the drawbacks of taking more time to prepare. They can also lead to difficulties if you fall behind, as you can feel a real pressure to try and catch up with your workload. On the other hand, deadlines and to-do lists are generally easier to set and to follow, but with the drawback of being less detailed. Once you've planned your revision, there are a few techniques that should help you to stay focused. Try switching off your phone or even your Wi-Fi if you aren't using online resources. Consider trying to mix up your revision activities so you become bored less easily. Set up a place to study that is as uncluttered and as peaceful as possible, and find what time of day you work best, as building your revision into your routine will make it easier to stick to. And finally, take the time to do things other than study. Breaks to relax and do fun things will help with your motivation. Before finishing up, here are a few final bits of advice for exam preparation. Don't worry how other people are studying. Revision's an individual thing and different people work differently, so find what techniques work for you, but that may include group study. Reflect on what you've learned. Once you've looked over a topic, don't just forget about it. Ask yourself how much you've learned and consider whether there's any subtopics you could look into further. And lastly, don't forget about the preparation you can make on the day of the exam. Make sure you're well rested and that you've eaten and drunk enough. Familiarise yourself with the layout of your exam. Make sure you have any equipment that you might need. And once the exam's over, do something to relax. It'll help prepare you for the next exam and you'll certainly have earned it. That brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you found the information helpful and will be able to take forward new skills in all steps of exam preparation, from note-taking to revision to preparation on the day. Further information about exam preparation in medicine can be found at youcanbeadoctor.co.uk and by emailing advice@youcanbeadoctor.co.uk. Also check out our Instagram and Twitter accounts for information on being a medical student and doctor, and for information on upcoming events. Thank you.